September 1939. Hitler's war machine rolls across Europe. France falls in 6 weeks. Britain stands alone, bombs falling on London every night. Meanwhile, 3,000 miles away, America sits on the sidelines, legally bound by neutrality laws. But here's what history books don't tell you. America was already fighting World War II. Not with soldiers, but with something far more powerful. By the time Pearl Harbor happened in December 1941, America had already been Germany's biggest enemy for 2 years. We just did it so cleverly that Hitler didn't realize until it was too late. This is the story of how America won World War II before we even entered it. And the strategy we used changed warfare forever. It's called the arsenal of democracy. Here's the problem Roosevelt faced in 1940. Britain was broke, completely out of money to buy weapons. But American law said we couldn't give military aid to countries at war. So how do you help your ally without breaking your own laws? Roosevelt's solution was pure genius. Instead of selling weapons, America would lend them. Like lending your neighbor a garden hose when his house is on fire. You don't expect the hose back, you expect him to put out the fire. The Lend-Lease Act passed in March 1941. Within weeks, American ships were crossing the Atlantic loaded with tanks, planes, and ammunition. All perfectly legal. But lending weapons is useless if you don't have weapons to lend. That's where American industry performed what can only be called a miracle. General Motors stopped making Buicks and started making aircraft engines. Chrysler converted their car assembly lines to produce tanks in just 90 days. Ford built the massive Willow Run plant, 1 mile long, that could pump out a B-20 for bomber every single hour. The speed was insane. Shipyards that had never built warships were launching destroyers. Companies that made typewriters started making machine guns. The numbers tell the story. In 1940, America produced 3,000 military aircraft. By 1942, we were making 48,000 per year. That's more planes than Germany and Japan combined. Liberty ships became the symbol of American industrial might. These cargo vessels took 200 days to build in 1941. By 1943, American shipyards were launching one every 4 days. The record holder, the SS Robert E. Peary, built in just 4 days, 15 hours. Hitler called it impossible. But impossible was becoming America's specialty.
Let's talk about those Liberty ships because they were America's secret weapon that nobody saw coming. Before the war, building a cargo ship took 355 days. American shipyards said, "Hold my beer," and redesigned everything. They broke shipbuilding into prefabricated sections. Workers could weld huge chunks on land, then crane them onto the ship like giant Lego blocks. The result? Kaiser Shipyards in California became a shipbuilding machine. They hired people who had never seen the ocean and turned them into master shipbuilders in weeks. One yard alone launched 1,490 ships during the war. But here's where it gets really interesting. America didn't have enough workers. The men were getting drafted. So who built all these ships and planes? Rosie the Riveter wasn't just a poster, she was 6 million real women who flooded into factories. Housewives became welders. Teachers became aircraft mechanics. Grandmothers ran crane operations. Boeing hired 50,000 women. They worked 10-hour shifts, 6 days a week. These women had never held a wrench, but they were building the most advanced aircraft in the world. And they were doing it better and faster than anyone thought possible. The training programs were revolutionary. Ford created assembly line education. They could take a farm worker and teach them to build airplane engines in 2 weeks. Shipyards set up 24-hour training schools. New workers learned while experienced ones kept building. It was education at wartime speed. The government created films, posters, and manuals that turned complex manufacturing into simple steps. They gamified production. Workers competed to see who could rivet fastest, weld cleanest, build most efficiently. But making weapons is only half the battle. You have to get them across an ocean crawling with German U-boats. America created convoy systems that moved like clockwork. Every 10 days, massive fleets left American ports loaded with enough equipment to supply entire armies. Steel, rubber, oil, food, ammunition, everything Britain needed to survive. By 1943, American factories were supplying not just Britain, but the Soviet Union too. We were literally feeding two fronts of a global war while our own army was still getting ready to fight.
By 1942, America had created something the world had never seen: a war economy that made peace look inefficient. We were spending 40% of our entire national income on the war effort. But here's the crazy part: our economy actually grew. Unemployment dropped to 1.2%, the lowest in American history. Workers were making more money than ever while producing weapons that were winning a war we hadn't officially joined yet. Meanwhile, Germany was struggling to keep up. Their factories were being bombed. Their workers were exhausted. They were fighting a production war against an opponent they couldn't even target. Hitler finally understood what was happening in late 1941. In his private conversations, he admitted that American industrial capacity was Germany's biggest threat, not the British Navy, not the Soviet Army, but American factories. He knew the numbers. America was producing more war material in 1 month than Germany could in 3. By the time Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, America had already delivered enough equipment to keep Britain fighting for years. The attack on Pearl Harbor wasn't just a military disaster for Japan, it was the moment America stopped pretending to be neutral and unleashed the full power of the arsenal of democracy. Once America officially entered the war, the production numbers became absolutely ridiculous. We built 300,000 aircraft, 100,000 tanks, 2,700 Liberty ships, and 8 million rifles. American shipyards were launching vessels faster than Germany could sink them. Our aircraft factories were producing planes faster than our pilots could learn to fly them. We were literally drowning the Axis powers in equipment. The war became a math problem, and America had all the biggest numbers. Today, when we talk about supply chain issues because a cargo ship gets stuck in the Suez Canal, remember this: 80 years ago, America rebuilt its entire economy in 18 months while fighting the most powerful military machines in history. Modern manufacturing celebrates just-in-time delivery. The greatest generation mastered faster than possible production while their sons were dying on foreign beaches. America won World War II before firing a shot because we understood something our enemies didn't. Wars aren't won by the bravest soldiers or the smartest generals. They're won by the side that can build more, faster, and better than anyone thought humanly possible. That's how you become a superpower, not through conquest, but through creation.